Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to this live webinar, which is the continuation of the collaboration between Lendlord and Property Tribes, where we are advocating that you adopt a digital first approach to your property business. And that's very apt tonight because we're going to be talking about the launch of the new tax insights on Lendlord. And of course, we know that coming down the pipe at Landlords is the Making Tax Digital initiative by the government. So we're very pleased to welcome to Lendlord as our tax advisor partner, Amit Prasanna of Guardian. And Amit, lovely to welcome you to the Lendlord ecosystem, shall we say, and also to this call. And if I may, I just want to give a brief background to the connection to Amit. Amit has been acting as the personal accountant of both myself and Nick and Property Tribes. I think it's for about 10 years now, isn't it, Amit?
I think it's coming up to that, yes.
Yes, coming up to that, and we cannot speak highly enough about Amit and the service that he has provided us. So that's the first thing to say, that he's highly recommended by us. But Amit, when we first approached you about Lendlord, it wasn't just that you already had this existing relationship with us, because you see a lot of different portfolio management and different types of software. But when you saw Lendlord, you, very much like we did when we first tried it out, you immediately saw that it was really in a league of its own, didn't you?
Yes, and well, firstly, thank you, Vanessa, for the introduction, and Avram and Nick, it's good to join you guys here. I know we've been working in the background for the last few weeks on this, and it's good to be here in the public forum talking about it, and thank you for the warm introduction, Vanessa. Well, yes, when I saw Lendlord, I mean, I first came across this idea, it was quite a while ago with Nick and I discussed this when it was still a concept and in its very early stages. And as a concept, it sounded fantastic. I mean, it was, if you compare it to what I'm used to seeing in my accounting profession, the Xeros, QuickBooks, other cloud-based accounting software, which are general tools which you can apply to different industries. Lendlord specifically, being that it's aimed at the property sector, sort of fixes a lot of the issues that we used to find, weren't quite, I find with other softwares, you're trying to fit a round peg through a square hole and make it sort of the best fit scenario. But with Lendlord, for instance, tracking portfolio by property, the functionality that it has, it's fit for purpose, is tailor-made for the sector. So as someone in the accounting profession whose practice has a large or a significant portion of our client base are property oriented, this was fantastic. So yeah, I got involved immediately. I don't think we needed more than an initial discussion to say, yes, I'm on board. Let's do this.
Well, it's awesome to have you as part of the Lendlord ecosystem, as I said, because Avram, that's really what we are trying to achieve with Lendlord, isn't it? That when landlords come onto the platform, they've got everything that they could possibly need at their fingertips. And this is really why the release and launch of the tax insights is another step forward to what your original concept was, to provide a kind of one-stop shop dashboard where landlords could manage their landlord life from.
Exactly. And I think now with the addition of the tax insights and partnering with Amit and his firm, we can cover even more functionality, like a site that we did in very low level. And now we are continue to enhance it. So it's exciting. I think, yeah, you are right. This is like exactly our vision. We want to be one place for the landlord to do everything. And and the good thing is that he can decide and to choose what he wants to do with the platform and what not. It's very customized. And you can use any functionality you want. And I think that we are getting there to be like a one-stop shop. And it's exciting because we are doing it with a lot of feedback from our users and community. And like my feeling is that we are building it, like we are building a product together with our users. So it's exciting.
It certainly is. And Amit, just coming back to you, I just do want to kind of highlight that you are a specialist in landlord and property tax. It is quite a complex area of taxation. And as you mentioned, you have a lot of clients. You're based in London. You deal with big portfolio landlords. And, you know, I think timing wise, we do know that making tax digital is in the pipeline. Obviously, using a digital tool like Lendlord, you're actually kind of future-proofing your business. You're preparing, getting ahead of the game for when landlords have to, you know, seek into the Making Tax Digital initiative.
Oh, absolutely right. So Making Tax Digital, just as brief background on that issue, MTD, you will have heard that phrase being thrown around in various forums over the last couple of years. It's something that it's an initiative by the government to get everything digital. People that are employed, for instance, would have seen that in the form of RTI, real-time information. So it started years ago with that. There have been various dates touted around, but you should assume in the next 2 to 5 years at some point, it'll become mandatory for landlords, private landlords, to file quarterly returns rather than annual tax returns. So their compliance requirements will be quarterly returns with a final fifth return at the end of quarter 4, or sometime soon after quarter 4, which basically will replace your tax return at that point. And it'll probably bring the tax date, I think, to September rather than January at that time. So that's what Making Tax Digital is, and that's the actual reporting requirement. Behind that, businesses that are subject to MTD are required to keep digital records of their financial transactions, and books and records need to be in a digital format. So any transaction you should be able to trace in a digital way. So, you know, the old days of having shoeboxes full of receipts as your books and records will be long gone by then, which is a good thing. You know, especially for us, I mean, like, we have some fun with shoeboxes of receipts, but Making Tax Digital is very much a drive towards that. But I would say also this, Vanessa, that independent of the MTD requirement, having this sort of information ready to hand is incredibly valuable, because the property business is a business. And if you don't have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your business, you will lose control. And, you know, we've seen this landlords from time to time sleepwalking into things like Section 24. They don't know day to day what the impact is. If you get live, active information on your business, so you have real-time information about what's going on, what's your current tax exposure, if you want to look at it from an accountant's perspective, or, you know, what are your obligations coming up in the next few months, that's where this sort of tool is incredibly useful. MTD, I think, is in addition to all of the other benefits that you have from having this information to hand.
Fantastic. Well, Avram, the point of tonight's webinar is to introduce Amit to the Lendlord community, but also to really focus on the launch of the Tax Insights. And we're going to, first of all, go to where it all starts, and that is where you need to track your expenses, your income, and your other outgoings, so that you can start to build your kind of returns profile. So, Avram, do you want to start with that then, please?
So the basis of all the Tax Insights module is the profit and loss page. So I think that we will start with a high-level overview of how to use it. And there are some enhancements there as well that we released in the last few weeks. So let's start with that. If I want to access the profit and loss module from the dashboard, I can do it either from this button, Track Expenses, or I can go to the menu and click Profit and Loss. Before that, I want to show you the portfolio of this demo account. If I go to My Portfolio from the menu, you can see that I have now 3 properties in my portfolio. Just for the example, I create another one by clicking on Add Property. I can type any address, and I will use the Google Map completion to complete the entire address and put the postcode. I will put a purchase date, a purchase price, the estimated property value, rental income, and I will put also some mortgage data. Let's say that this is my current mortgage balance. This is my current rate. I can calculate the monthly cost on interest only. And I think this should be enough. You know what? I will put also a landlord insurance. So I will have this expense as well. I will just put now the premium. I can, after that, put the other fields as well. I click done. And immediately I have a new property. And let's go now to the profit and loss page. So the first enhancement that we introduced, also due to requests from users, is the change of how we represent the income versus the expenses. So you can see like two bars, one near each other, of the income and the expense and the expenses. And this is basically your net monthly cash flow. Something that is important to remember, that this view is for your entire portfolio. So if you want to work on a specific portfolio, you should use this drop down and select the property you want to work on. I think I've added this. This was the one that I added, I think. We'll see in a minute. So you can see that I picked this property. I can review the cash flow, the monthly income, the expenses, gross monthly yield, net monthly yield, and net monthly cash and cash. We will not touch on these metrics this webinar. Something important is that I can also review my history. And the way to set the history is to use the copy expenses or copy income backwards. And first thing that I usually do when I create a new property is I go to the monthly income sidebar by clicking edit. So the monthly rental is copied from the My Portfolio. Important thing that also for like income and expenses, if you want to make sure that the platform will carry it over month by month, make sure that the recurring income checkbox is checked. And then you can forget about it, and the platform will take it every month. Of course, that if the rate has changed, you should change it on the My Portfolio, and it will change the value accordingly. And if you use our rent collection module, I would recommend not to mark it as a recurring expense, as a recurring income, because in the rent collection module, when you track a payment, it will copy it automatically to your profit and loss page. The same thing I will do with the monthly expenses. So in the sidebar, you can see a list of predefined expenses. The best way to set up profit and loss is to go to the current month, August 2020. I can put all my fixed expenses and make sure that the recurring expense is checked. And then if I want also to copy them backwards, so you can see now that August is higher than the others, but I pay my managing agent fee every month, I click on copy expenses backwards. I will take the entire historical period from January 2015 to August 2020. And actually I want to copy all the expenses in August backwards. So in one click, you can manage the history, so you can see everything here. In here, if you used to pay every year different amounts, you should just use the right period and copy the expenses accordingly. Another enhancement that we introduced 2 weeks ago is the categories. So we put predefined categories, but you can change it if you want. And how you do it, you just need to click on the category label. You will see this drop down. And you can select different a category for the expense. And if you also add an expense I will show you in a sec, you can also put it, put like a category, like classify it by a category. If you are not happy with our categories, it's not a problem. You can change it by click on the edit icon. So like instead of insurance, I want to call it a landlord insurance. Save. I can also pick a different color. I can add my own category by clicking add. And select the color. And I created a new category that I can use on each.
Yeah, so essentially what Avram is demonstrating is that for your properties, you will have some expenses that are the same month in, month out, and you can copy those across. And then you may have properties that have a one-off expense, such as, you know, you might have to buy a new boiler, or say with our holiday lets, once a year we have to have all the decking scrubbed down and have all the exterior you know, fencing painted and that kind of thing, just little annual events for different properties, or, you know, whatever one-off thing it might be, you can add it in. And Amit, I think one of the questions that we get regularly asked on Property Tribes is, you know, what expenses can I claim for? Because there isn't a list anywhere per se, but the basic answer is really that, you know, you can claim for anything directly connected with your business, as long as if HMRC came knocking, that you could justify the expense.
Sorry, there was sounded like a phone ringing.
Yeah, it's gone. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Essentially, this list that Avram has just talked through is designed to prompt you to think about these items, because as well as claiming things that are allowable, people often overlook things that they can claim but may not occur to them that they can, like traveling to visit your property. Now, if you're a seasoned landlord and you've been doing it for many years and it's your main business, you will be aware of many of the expenses you can claim. But if you're more of a passive landlord who's equally able to use this platform and make very good use of it, if you're a passive landlord, you may not be aware of all the items you're able to claim. And you're right, anything you can connect to your property business generally in terms of expenditure has a case for being tax deductible, either against income or against capital in future. So it's got a very long list there, and I would encourage people to go through that list, because you might actually find items that you've overlooked in connection to your property business.
And I think, Amit, you know, in this era that we're in of Section 24, any landlord that is affected by it, you know, a sole trader landlord, they really do need to up their game in terms of claiming the expenses that they are entitled to offset against their property business.
Absolutely. So, I mean, give you a prime example. Expenses, you can claim certain expenses related to your car, in many cases, capital allowances and so on. You know, if you're getting help at home with someone helping you with your books and records, you can pay them a wage for that. You know, if your teenage child, for instance, is helping you with emails and filing of papers, they can get you know, compensated for that, and it'll be deductible for your business. So there are items that people may not be aware of or may not have been charging. Well, the list is there, and we're here to advise anyone who has questions about that or needs a review done of what they're currently claiming and could be claiming. So use the list, and if you have a doubt, come and talk to us and we'll help you.
Yes, your audio is a little bit breaking up there, so I apologise if anybody else experienced that. But I mean, just an example, Amit, you know, we have a motorhome, and we do go to business meetings in that vehicle. If it's a long journey, it's completely legitimate to offset some of the cost of the motorhome against our tax. These are all things that people, you know, don't necessarily think of. And as you say, these kind of educational webinars and the prompts on Lendlord, and, you know, consulting with yourself, you know, these are the things that you should really think about claiming. It would be rude not to.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Avram, where did you want to go next then?
Okay, so now you have the reports. So after I set up my profit and loss page, so I make sure, and I need to do it for each property, but once I set the fixed expenses, then the platform will carry it over every month. And of course, the one-time expenses, I should go every month and track them in the platform. And if I want to arrange my history, I can use, as I showed, the copy expenses backwards. So now after I set my income and expenses, I can review the reports. One note before, you can also update your purchase cost for on each property. And this will also give us the baseline of the cash investment to calculate the other metrics. In terms of the reports, we've added 2 reports. One is the expenses breakdown report. So here you can review your expenses over time. You can also pick a period that you want to review the expenses. And you can see the expenses by categories. You can uncheck all categories and then pick only the categories you want to track. And you can see, okay, how much I spend on landlord insurance in this period. And you can see the number. You can see all the expenses in a list. You can export it in one click to an Excel spreadsheet. You can upload a receipt from your file system on your computer, and it will be saved on the platform in the cloud. And you can also play a bit with the filters to see just for like a specific properties, or if I have a portfolio with an owner in this account, I have it only in one owner, I can also filter it by that. So this is this report. We will enhance this report also like to see like expenses as a pie. So you can see like the comparison between the totals of each categories. Mm-hmm. So how much you have on travel, how much you have in insurance in one view. Currently you need to select them, each one of them together. All of them together, sorry. This is the first report. The second report, and this is something that we work together with Amit, is the estimated profit and loss report. And here, like a very important note, it's an estimation, and it's based only on the data that the user entered to the platform. It's based only on the data on his properties, on his rents. And if he has like other source of income, we should take it into account. What we do in order like to bridge this gap, we use the tax band, the tax rate. So if the user knows that he already on 20 or 40, he can change this number and he can see how it might impact his profitability. So here also another thing that we did is we separated private properties and company properties. And I will switch an account. So if I have, I think that in this account I have also a company, yeah. So I can see that I have 4 properties on company. The calculations in company, in limited company are different. And perhaps Amit will put some few words on that. And I have like 5 properties in private ownership, so I can see what is the estimated profit on those. You can also play with the periods, like which period you want to see. So let's see, usually I will take May to April, Amit, yeah?
Sure, yeah.
And you can see, I think that we will enhance it in the future, like to have a simulation of if I want to see it on company properties versus private properties. The platform also takes into account, so like the change, like the time that I changed properties from private to limited company. So I don't know if you think, when I said we need to go into the calculations, but perhaps Amit say like some high-level overview.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add just on this when we were putting this together. It is designed as an indication during the year. And I think just taking a step back from the actual calculation, I think the best way landlords can use this is to have a real sense during the year of what their accumulated tax position is, rather than waiting 9 months after year end to get that surprise tax computation that says you've got X amount to pay in a few days.
Yes, 1st of January.
Yeah, so I think, at any given point in time, it'll give you a good, reasonable estimation that you've got a liability and what that liability might look like. Of course, this platform cannot know information outside of the platform. So if there are other factors like specific structures people have in place, other income that is not represented in this platform, it cannot know that. So the tax liabilities here are an illustration, I would say, because to have a true estimate, you would need to have full information about an individual's tax position, income and gains during the year. But as an indicator, this is a good start. So as Aviram mentioned, there will be further enhancements to this, and that will work with feedback that we receive as it goes along. But the purpose here is to show, firstly, to split between the individual and the company, because they're treated very differently, mainly being Section 24 and the tax rates. And secondly, to look at when you are investing as an individual, what does it look like under a company? So if you actually run your portfolio through a company.
Amit, you're breaking up again.
Okay. I have a stable connection. I'm not sure what the issue is, but
you've come back again. Start again when you were talking about the individual.
Right. So the having an individual and a company side by side will also give you a good comparison of what it looks like to be taxed as an individual versus a company. So that's another bit of information people can draw on from this platform.
I think also one of the questions that we had from the interview we did earlier in the week between myself and Aviram was, does the personal taxation module take into account Section 24? And the answer to that is yes, it does, doesn't it, Amit?
It does indeed. So you can see in this table here on screen that the mortgage interest is actually zero in this example, but had it not been zero, you see the tax credit on mortgage interest at the bottom, it factors in. So, well, yeah, this is a better example. So it does, on the personal side, it does assume Section 24 applies. One of that drop-down item there, the 20%, that can be, you select your tax rate. The reason why, an individual would need to select the tax rate is because it's not possible to know what's not in this platform. And that's one of the factors perhaps, we can look at in the future. Right now, it's very much based on an individual's property portfolio as far as it's represented in this platform. Anything outside of this platform cannot be known, of course. So an individual has to select their tax rates. And obviously, you get into muddier waters when they straddle two tax rates. So if they've got, for instance, 170,000 of income, it'll go across several tax rates. And at that point, they really need to follow up with some more personalized advice at that rate. I think as an indicator, this is a very good starting point.
Indeed. And it goes without saying that in anything that involves data, the more accurate and input data that you input, and the more input data that you input, the better results you will get back, the more accurate results you will get back. So we do want to encourage everybody to fill in as many fields as possible, and it could just be a matter of a little daily routine of every morning just taking 10 minutes to input your expenses of the day or any other bits and pieces that you need to change. If you've had an interest rate change or you've had a one-off expense, for example, just get into the little routine of inputting that data. Okay, Nick is signaling me. What was that, sweetie?
I've got some questions along with input. To ask them now.
Yeah, we've got quite a few questions coming in. If the Pauline would like to know if a property or properties within the portfolio are owned jointly, can this be split out for the individual's tax liability?
Okay, so this is not the first time I hear this question, and it's in the roadmap. What we have today in terms of different owners is the ability to filter your portfolio by owners. So let's say that I have this portfolio and I have John and Kate. So in my portfolio, I can see the portfolio is like, I see the entire owners together, and I can see just the portfolio of Kate or just the portfolio of John. And this is something that we also take into account on our finance side, like when we calculate criteria by lenders. It's not the topic of this webinar. What we miss, and like it's like in our roadmap, is to see your metrics and your profit and loss by the percentage of the ownership.
Mm.
So I recommend first, like when you edit a property and you go to this field, applicant and owner, put the percentage as an input. We don't do a lot with that right now, but when we release the feature of calculating all the metrics by the percentage of the owner, then you will see much more accurate results and the metrics when you pick the specific owner. And we will do the same also in the profit and loss. You will see also your expected profit according to your ownership percentage in the property. But it's not released yet. Currently, we can just filter and see just your own portfolio. Even if you hold only 20% on the property, you will see the entire property. But it's coming.
We love your thinking, Pauline. We will christen it the Pauline feature. How about that?
Hi guys, just quickly, we've got one of the first questions here, Aviram. Can you add multiple payments for the same month? I.e., if you had something that was maintenance and it was just called maintenance, if you added another one which was a maintenance issue, albeit slightly different, is that feasible, and would that affect the first one?
So the way we design the platform is that we need to do it in a little walk around. So let's say that just for the example, if I have like 2 landlord insurance, I know it's not possible, like it's like 2 maintenance, okay, in 1 month, then just specify like add expense. Let's use the maintenance example. So I will add the first one, the date that I had the actual payment, how much I paid. It's not a recurring expense like in this example, let's say. Now, if I want like to add another maintenance, I would use because we don't, so like the answer is no, we can't, we don't support like multiple. So what you need to do is like to use the other expense and the expense description, call it maintenance. You see, this already exists. Please rename it. So we create expense maintenance 2 or like
Maintenance 2.
Maintenance on X and But the good thing is that we have the categories, okay? So you can, by the way, any expense that you add, you get undefined in the category. So you should just click on the label, get the list of the categories, and classify it in one click. And I classify both of them as maintenance. So like in the Brecken report, I will see like both in the same category. So this is the way to do it right now. I got also a question privately on how to upload receipts. So I can answer that now. In order to upload receipts, first I go hover over the expense box, click on edit, then go to a upload receipt link. When you click on that, you will see your file system from your desktop opens. You can select the file that you want to upload, click done, and you can see now the icon of the, where was it? Here, the icon of the attachment. If you want to review it, just like you need to click on it and it will download it to your computer, and you can see the receipt here. This is just like use a screenshot. But you can put also like PDF file, I think any type of file. So this is like the way, and in the expenses report, you will see all the receipts here. So if you have receipt, you can see it here. You can also upload from here receipts as well from the expenses breakdown report. Vanessa, we still need to cover the tax insights widget.
Yeah, let's go to that now, because I'm just mindful of the time. So this is the final item that we're going to be looking at in tonight's webinar. And this is, well, we've saved the best to last, I think. This is the new tax insights, which Avram will give a quick helicopter view of. But essentially, these insights are looking at your personal liability, your capital gain liability, and your IHT inheritance tax liability. They just give a very broad overview or estimate of what these could be. So Avram, if you would like to quickly give us a guided tour of that, of the tax insights.
Yeah. So when we started to work with Amit a few weeks ago, we thought, okay, which high-level liabilities we should highlight. And again, my disclaimer, that it's like an estimation, of course. You need to assess those results, but it can give you like indication where you are at, and like perhaps steps that you can take in order to improve your situation. The capital gains tax is something that we think that we support like almost since the beginning. So if you're like a new user, you just created your portfolio, you will see the CGT, the capital gains tax, a number that we calculate according to formulas that we work together with Amit. But if you want more accurate result, you can go directly to the My Portfolio page, hover over the row of the property, click on this icon, Calculate Gains Tax. This takes 2 minutes, but what our technology does, we go directly to the HMRC website and we calculate it for you. And you will get like a PDF that you can see like the way the calculation is done like in the website. And once you do that, we save the number as your capital gains tax for this property, and you will see the summary in the dashboard, the summary of that. I'll give it like a few more seconds. Perhaps, Amit, if you want to speak about capital gains tax, this is the time.
Sure thing. I think, again, it's all about the data held in the platform, and the CGT liability, it's linked to, it draws on your things like your purchase costs, enhancements during the year, and estimated sale price. It is an estimate, and it'll give you an estimated liability. We also have some where we think it might be possible with information held in the platform for you to reduce that liability. It'll give you a potential reduced liability number as well. And that might involve things like changing an ownership percentage or something to that effect prior to sale, for married couples or people in a civil partnership that can take advantage of combined ICT allowances and so on. So again, this isn't an actual tax computation. This is an estimate, and it's designed to provoke thought and planning ahead. So to that end, the information it draws on is pretty useful, and it should give you a good early heads up of what liability you'll face if you were to sell one or more of your properties.
And it might prompt somebody to call a tax advisor such as yourself to start thinking about.
Oh, absolutely. And strategies. Absolutely. I think, ultimately our goal is to be in touch with people and do great work with great businesses. So from that perspective, we're always happy to speak to people. I'm aware, also appreciative that many people, landlords especially, will already have accountants and advisors. By all means, speak to them. The point from a landlord's perspective or a property business owner's perspective is to be aware of what you're facing and do something about it. As CGT has changed, of course, now you pay it within 30 days on residential property sales for private landlords. So specifically on CGT, it's critical that you know what your potential exposure is if you sold a property tomorrow. You have 30 days to pay it, and you need to know how much that's going to be.
We've got a little graphical representation there. There's 3 bars for each of the different insights.
Yeah, I think we have some issue now with the calculation of the MHMRC, but
Okay.
usually it's working, and then you get the right number. If I go back to the dashboard, so we have like 3 different things, like 3 different items. One is the capital gains tax. The second one is the inheritance tax, the IHT. That perhaps Amit, you can also put some few words on that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think this was one we decided to put in because it's amazing how little knowledge there is or awareness that there is going to be potentially significant IHT on property portfolios. Residential properties, unlike many other businesses, get absolutely no relief. I mean, they're probably the most persecuted business investment you could make from a tax perspective. So that doesn't stop at IHT. Of course, IHT, you don't get any business asset relief or anything of that nature on residential property investments. So it's important to have an IHT exposure estimate on the portfolio, again, to create awareness of the situation and prompt investors to do something about it, whether that's it would be an IFA you speak to about getting things like life insurance cover, or thinking about how you might pass on your properties to next of kin or other beneficiaries. These are the thoughts that you're supposed to provoke by having this calculation here. And again, it's mainly because people are so much focused on their day-to-day running of the business that they forget this longer-term stealth tax, as I call it, because people are just unaware of it. So again, it's about creating awareness.
Fantastic. And then the final one is your net income, your personal liability.
Exactly, and this is something that we take from the report that we showed before on the profit and loss, the estimation of the profit and loss. We take all the properties together. We separate individual properties and limited company properties and calculate differently and summarize everything, and you can see the number in here. And again, here, like if you do some kind of estate planning, and mainly I think that the place between like the individual properties to limited company, then you might increase your profitability. In the future, we want to add some simulations of, okay, I want to move this property from individual to company, see like the impact. But for now, you can see like your current situation. And also here, you can schedule a call with Amit, our tax advisor, and see perhaps you can do something to improve your situation.
I think it's really important to just highlight the graphical representations that we are introducing into Lendlord. And you'll notice that there's the pink color. Wherever you see pink around the platform, that is an indication that there is something that you can improve, where you can add something or make an improvement, and it will improve your bottom line. So pink will very soon become your favorite color on Lendlord. It's certainly my favorite color anyway, but even more so when you're moving around the platform and you see the pink color and you click on that, it will show that there are areas where you can improve your bottom line, and these are automatically generated. Now, Avaram just mentioned that you can schedule a free 15-minute consultation with Amit. There is a link going to be added to the live chat to, is it Calendly?
Calendly.
Calendly. And we would just like to say that whether you are a Lendlord user or not, should you enjoy your 15-minute chat with Amit and get value from it, which I'm sure you will, in fact I have no doubt at all, and then you go on to instruct Amit as your tax advisor and to manage your accounts, then Lendlord will receive a small commission for the introduction. And again, we do say this in the interests of transparency and also to help people understand how we are trying to keep the platform free to use. So right at the beginning, I mentioned this word ecosystem. We are building an ecosystem of trusted suppliers and products and services for landlords. Amit is our latest addition, and we're very, very delighted to have him on board. But should you choose to use any of our recommended products or services, then Lendlord benefits via a small commission. So if you'd like to get in touch with Amit, there's the Calendly link on the chat right there. You can book a 15-minute free consultation with him. And if you've got any specific questions that you want to get answered, I'm sure he'll be delighted to speak to you. Anything else, guys, that you want to close out with? Any final words, Amit, from you? I mean, tax is quite a dull topic. I'm sorry. Well, I think so. Sorry, but I do. And I think it's so important to have these insights, which are just giving signposts to things that we need to be aware of, as you say, that might not be on our radar at all. And then to work with somebody such as yourself, I've always experienced that you totally take the burden off me, and that you just take care of everything. So yeah, sorry, any final words about Lendlord and what it's doing to help landlords?
Well, I was going to say tax is a dull topic, so just leave it up to us to take care of. You don't need to worry too much about that. But what Lendlord, I mean, what can I say? The data you get on there is fantastic. Use it to make improvements. Get in touch with us to discuss topics. As you said, Vanessa, it's a free call for 15 minutes where shouldn't be afraid to use that. So if anyone has any topics on any of these matters we've covered today, get in touch. That's what we're there for. So we're expecting to talk to people, and I would encourage people to get in touch as and when the need arises.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Amit. Great to have your input here. Any closing words from you? Sammy's got a very quick question. What are your instincts to any potential CGT changes that Rishi Sunak will make later in the year? Do you have a view on that?
Well, there's talk about CGT being equalised with income taxes. Will it happen? I mean, it's guesswork at this point, but that's pretty much, if we have a change, it's going to be brought more in line with the income tax rates as opposed to the much lower CGT rates. So he may equalise CGT to income taxes.
Okay, and obviously if there are any changes in any tax bands or anything of that nature, then Lendlord would automatically be updated in the formulas to reflect that. Question, I think it was from Sean. Was it from Sean?
I think so.
Yes. Can you, he said, how do you input a capital expense, like say a new kitchen? Can you label it as that type of expense?
Yeah, you should go to the profit and loss page and go to purchase costs below the main chart. Click on edit. So here is the place to put furnishing, and you can add any cost, and you can put your own cost description. The thing is that, and this is also a thing that I have a lot of conversation with users on that. If you now buy a kitchen after 10 years, is it like a purchase cost, or like it's your one of the operating costs, and then you should track it on a month as a monthly expense, or like periodic expense in a specific, over several months. If you do it like this, let's say in March 2020, April 2020, I paid, I don't know, $5K on a kitchen, and I put 2 in March, 3 in April. Perhaps you can put it here as a one-time expense. It will definitely impact your cash on cash in this year, and you will see it on your net cash flow in 2020. I don't know if it's like a purchase cost or not. It's a question, and I don't know if I think it's also like a point of view of how you look at it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Any closing words from you, Aviram?
Yeah, one thing about you mentioned the way that we monetize the platform. That this is what we're trying to do. we changed the way that we also reward now our user with cashback points. And so if we get a commission, part of that you can earn, and once you earn 200 points, you can convert them to cash. And this is also something that we are trying now in terms of our business model.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you to Amit for joining us this evening, and welcome on board to Lendlord. Great to have your contribution and guidance around the topic of tax. And thank you to everybody that's joined the webinar this evening. We have been recording it. It will be added to Property Tribes in the next day or two. And of course, you're very welcome to go on to that thread on Property Tribes and add any questions that you think of after the webinar. And Avaram and Amit will be on hand to answer any of those. But I guess that's it for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed looking at the new Lendlord tax insights, and do go away and explore the platform, and remember to look out for the color pink. That's my final tip for tonight. So thank you very much. Thank you to Avaram, who is joining us from Tel Aviv. I don't know if you are as hot as me, Avaram, but I am literally melting. So I think it's just time to say thank you very much to everybody for taking part, and thank you for your support, your brilliant questions, and your suggestions of how we can improve Lendlord. It does feel like we're all on this journey together, and we really do appreciate your input and feedback. But for now, we're saying a very good evening to everybody, and see you next time.